What if I told you that most of the pain in your hardest conversations isn't actually coming from what happened? It's coming from what you make it mean. And what if there was a way to tell the difference in real time, right in the middle of the moment that's pushing all your buttons? That's what we're talking about today. It's this distinction that I learned years ago and was recently reinforced in a nonviolent communication course by Marshall Rosenberg. And I promise, once you see it, your relationships will begin to change for the better. It has quietly untangled more hard moments in my marriage, with my adult kids, and honestly, with myself, than almost any other tool I know. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Seasons of Joy podcast. I'm Jill Pack, and today's episode is number 110, and it is called Let Freedom Ring, Observation versus Evaluation. Here's what I hope you will take away from this episode today. There is a difference between what happened and what you made it mean. And most of us, I'll include myself here, go through our whole lives blurring those two together and calling the blur reality. So let me show you what I mean. First, I want you to picture a camera in a room, just a camera. It has no feelings, no history with anyone, no opinions. It only records what it sees and hears. So if your husband walked into the kitchen and set his keys on the counter and said, "I'm going to bed," the camera would record exactly that. Words, tone, and action. That's it. That's an observation. It's what happened. It's provable. Anyone who watched the footage would agree on it. Now, what did you hear when he said, "I'm going to bed"? Maybe you heard something like, "He's shutting me out again," or "He's upset with me and won't say it," or "He doesn't care that we didn't even finish talking." None of that is on the camera footage. None of it. That's the meaning that you have added. That's the evaluation. And I want you to notice that the camera footage doesn't hurt you. What hurts is the meaning that you are giving it. So let that settle in for a second. And now I want to give you a few more examples because this is such an important concept to understand. Let's say your daughter calls you on a Sunday afternoon. You see her name on the screen and you pick up, and the first thing she said is, "Mom, can I ask you something?" The camera hears, "Mom, can I ask you something?" 6 words, a tone that maybe sounds a little tired. That's it. But what did you hear? Maybe you heard, "She's only calling because she needs something," or "Here we go, she's upset with me about last week," or "Something's wrong, I can feel it." You've had a whole conversation with yourself before she's even asked the question. Here's another one. You send a text to your friend on Tuesday morning. Something simple. "Hey, are we still on for Thursday?" And you watch those 3 little dots appear, and then they disappear. And then nothing. No response for hours. The camera records the dots appeared, dots disappeared, no reply for 6 hours. That's it. That's the footage. But what did you make it mean? "She's mad at me. She's flaking. I said something wrong at lunch last week. She doesn't actually want to be friends with me." And none of that is on the camera. Not one word of it. But your body is already reacting like it's all true. Or how about this one? And this one I used to catch myself in all the time. Let's say you walk past a mirror. The camera sees a woman walking past a mirror. That's it. But what do you say to yourself in that half-second glance? "I look so tired. Man, I've let myself go. Look at what midlife has done to me." You've had a judgment handed down before you ever even finished walking through the room. Now, I want you to notice this. You didn't observe yourself in the mirror. You evaluated yourself. And then you took that evaluation and you treated it like it was reality. Here's one more. You're sitting in church and someone gives a talk or a lesson, and afterward, you can't stop thinking about a look that someone gave you from across the room. The camera saw her eyes met yours for about 2 seconds, and then she looked away. That's the footage. But what did you make it mean? She's judging me. She heard about what happened. She doesn't approve of the choices I've been making or my kids have been making. And you could carry all that meaning home with you. You could carry that for a week. You could build a whole story about you and how you are viewed in your church congregation based on 2 seconds of eye contact that the camera would tell you was just 2 seconds of eye contact. Now, I'm not sharing these examples with you to make you feel silly. I'm sharing them with you because we all do this. You do this. I do this. Every woman I've ever coached does this. There is nothing wrong with you, though. It's just how we're wired. But once you can see it, you can start to work with it. Now, the second thing that I want you to take away from today is why this matters so much. When we can't tell the difference between observation and evaluation, we react to our interpretation as if it were the event itself. We get defensive about a story we wrote. We grieve over a meaning we assigned. We argue with our husband about what he really meant, and he's standing there completely bewildered because from his side, he just told you he was going to bed. Now think about how much of your mental energy this week has gone into meanings and not actual events. The tone you thought you heard, the look you thought you saw, the pause you thought was too long, the comment someone made that you've replayed over and over in your head. And with every replay, you're adding another layer of intent that they may or may not have even had. That's not the event costing you. That's the evaluation costing you. This is where so much of the pain in our closest relationships exist. Not in what actually happened, but in the invisible layer we've laid on top of it. And because we can't see that layer, we can't question it. We just live inside of it and we call it the truth. 2 people can be in the exact same conversation and walk away with completely different accounts of what was said. He may say, I just told you I was tired. And you may say, but you were being dismissive. And you're both convinced that you're right. Both of you are convinced that you're describing what happened. But one of you is describing the footage, and maybe the other one is describing the meaning, and neither of you knows it. This is why couples can argue for 30 years about the same 3 things and actually never get anywhere. They're not actually arguing about what happened. They're arguing about the interpretations they've each mistaken for reality. Marshall Rosenberg had a strong way of saying this. He called mixing observation and evaluation one of the most violent things we do to each other. And I know that sounds a little intense, but think about it for a minute. When you've already decided what he meant, what she was thinking, why they did what they did, you've closed the door on them. They don't get to be anything other than what you've already made them in your mind. That's the violence he's talking about, not shouting, not slamming doors. It's just quietly deciding who someone is before they've had a chance to even show you. We do this to ourselves too, constantly, believing things like, I'm behind, I'm failing, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I should be further along by now. None of that is footage. All of it is meaning. Those judgments become the ground we are walking on. And finally, here's a practice I want to leave you with. The next time something pushes your buttons, a look, a text, a silence, a comment from one of your adult children, a glance in the mirror, a pause in a conversation, I want you to do one small thing. Get out a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left side, you're only going to write what the camera saw. Camera language only. No adjectives about tone, no guesses about motive, no he was being dismissive, just he said these words. He did this action. And if you can't prove it in court, it doesn't belong on the left. Let me give you an example so you can hear the difference. Instead of he shut me down at dinner, the camera version is, at dinner, when I said I was thinking about signing up for the retreat, he said, we'll see. And then he kept eating. That's it. That's what happened. Read those 2 sentences back to back and feel how different they are in your body. Or instead of my daughter is pulling away from me, the camera version is over the last 3 weeks, my daughter has called me twice instead of her usual 4 or 5 times. And our last 2 calls were under 10 minutes. Just the footage, just what a camera would capture. On the right side, write everything you made it mean. My daughter is done with me. I did something wrong. She's closer to our mother-in-law than I am. I'm losing her. Get it all out, not because it's even true, but because until you see it on paper, you cannot tell that it's a story. Now read the left side out loud and notice what happens in your body. Then read the right side out loud and notice what happens in your body. Can you feel the difference? The left side is usually pretty quiet in the body, almost boring. You can breathe through it, but the right side, that's when the tight chest comes. That's when the tears start to come. That's where the I knew it feeling comes from. And that difference in your body is the whole point. Your body is telling you which side is doing the hurting. And the gap between what happened and what you made it mean, that's where all your freedom lies. That's the doorway. Every time you catch yourself standing in that gap, you get a choice that you didn't have 5 seconds ago. You get to ask, is my meaning true? Is it the only meaning? Is it the meaning I want to keep? What else could this mean? What would I see if I were being generous instead of scared? That's the whole practice. Camera on the left, meaning on the right, and a breath in between. I hope you understand that you're not wrong for adding meaning. We all do it. Our brains are designed that way. They are meaning-making machines. It's how we were built. God designed us to be creatures who make sense of the world by giving it shape and story. The work is not to stop making meaning. The work is to know that's what you're doing. Because the moment you know, you're free. The moment you can see that layer, you can question the layer. And once you can question it, you can choose something different. That's the freedom that I want for you. So today, if this episode hits home for you, if you felt a little flicker of, oh, I do that, I want to invite you to go one step further. Everything you talked about today is the very first step on my C.A.R.E map. It's a 6-step coaching tool that I use with every one of my clients to help them move from a hard, tangled moment into clarity, connection, and choice. Observation is where it begins, but there are 5 more steps after it, and each one gives you back a little more of yourself. You can grab the C.A.R.E map for free over at seasons-coaching.com. Print it out, keep it in your journal, tuck it in your scriptures, or hang it on your mirror. Wherever you will see it and where it will meet you the next time a hard conversation catches you off guard. And if this episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor and share it with a friend who needs it? That's how this little corner of the world keeps growing. Until next week, remember, you've got this. Let freedom ring, friend, and I'll see you soon.